All right, great. Thanks a lot for having us today, guys. I want to get you in the frame of mind. So imagine you're the new manager that just found drugs on the floor near one of your employees' workspaces. Or maybe you're the new customer service rep who has to answer a broad array of calls, but little time to train on new call types. Or maybe you're a doctor or a nurse or training to be a doctor or nurse, and you have to break the news to someone that they have cancer or they just lost a baby. Maybe you smelled alcohol in a new employee stumbling back from lunch. These are all realistic situations. Um, they don't happen every day, but we have to be prepared for them, whether that's as a seasoned adult or somebody going from learning these things in college and going into the workspace. As I said, my name is John Bellotti. I'm an instructional designer at University of Wisconsin Oshkosh. And we have Becca McLagan with us today. You want to say anything to get us started here, Becca?
I mean, I feel like we were
There
already
we go.
introduced so well, but my name is Becca McLagan. I work specifically with our nursing and health professions disciplines, and my background is actually secondary education. So it's been really interesting to support instructional tech in a discipline that I'm not familiar with. And so I kind of want to set that up today as well, that the tool and the methodology we're going through today really can be tailored across disciplines. That's part of what we find so exciting about this.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, Becca, one of the things that one of the questions we got pre presentation here today was that are these actually interactive avatars? They are. These aren't like talking heads or anything. They will talk back and forth with you in real time, which you'll see in a little bit. So we'll get started. Our agenda today is to set that foundation by reviewing traditional role play, exploring cutting edge technology that can help expand the benefits of this learning technique, and how you can create these interactive avatars, integrate them into the curriculum, and a little bit about the research that we're doing on this technique to really support the learning here. To get us to started, whenever I design trainings, I really try to think about the audience and try to figure out what will make it engaging. Makes it a little bit difficult in some of the stuff we're trying to do today online, just because of the type of situation with the Zoom and the latency of these avatars. So we're going to show you probably some videos that will still be latent, but at least we kind of get the idea. So we're going to try to engage you throughout the presentation, mainly in the chat, using the emoticons and things like that. So please be ready to respond in that. So I'm going to set this whole thing up with a few more different questions for us. So give me a thumbs up or something like that if you have kids that question everything, or maybe even a teenager that gives you that angst-ridden, I'm an adult attitude, even though they're only 15 years old. Give me some thumbs up on those if you have any of those situations. Or how many of you have a spouse or maybe a significant other and weren't sure how to handle the conversation about why you're mad at them? I know that never happens to me. And what if we expand this into something that's maybe a little less personal, but just as difficult, like an employee performance situation or a work conflict that you weren't sure how to handle? So if you've ever had that situation come up, how would you feel would you feel more confident with some practice? Do you think practice would help you? Please feel free to put something in the chat and get your fingers warmed up to kind of talk back and forth with us in there as well. So to kind of get us started even further, to kind of bring us even further into this, we're going to do a little activity to help bring this point home. For this presentation, since Becca and I are really the main people that can talk in here, I'm going to be the employee. Becca is going to be the boss, and she has a critical thing to discuss with me today. So, ready to go, Becca?
Yes. The difficult conversation we're going to be practicing is I have to fire John. And just full disclosure to the group, this is not a situation I've had to be in before in real life. So not only is it a difficult conversation, but I am not practiced in it. So we're gonna see if role play and that type of simulation, what effect that might have on that communication skill. Okay, and I'm ready if you are, John.
All right, ready to go. Thanks for letting me off into the office today, Becca.
John, it's great to see you. Thank you for carving out some time to sit with me today. Why don't you have a seat?
Oh, thanks.
Okay. The reason you're here today is we have to talk about something, and I know we've kind of been touching base more frequently. I know we had that performance review not too long ago, and we indicated some skills, metrics, communication, things that we were really going to work on and try to improve. And then we wanted to follow up and kind of come full circle on those things. So that's the purpose of this meeting. Do you remember our previous conversations about those things?
I do, and I think I've made some real progress since last time we talked.
Okay, well, I'm glad you feel good about those improvements. I know we've been documenting kind of along the way. I know that I've also given you feedback along the way, and the feedback was less positive than what you just indicated to me. Did you get a chance to look at that feedback? Do you know what I'm referring to?
I didn't get a chance to look at it. I've been working so hard to try and catch up and make sure that I'm able to do what you've been asking me to do. I really haven't had time to look at it.
Okay, I wish if we could go back in time that you would understand that that was a priority of our work together, that you were on an improvement plan and responding to that feedback was going to be really important. So I have to say that that doesn't bode well that you didn't take the feedback. And unfortunately, I think that means that this conversation might come as a bit of a surprise to you. Unfortunately, looking at the way your performance has gone, it hasn't met the marks that we needed you to meet. We have not seen the improvement that we were hoping to, and we're going to have to let you go.
I don't even know what to say. I have 3 kids and a family to support. I can't do this.
I understand. I mean, I know your family well. We've worked together for a while now. This is very difficult conversation for me as well. But it's all documented. You can see everything that we've discussed and the performance metrics we were hoping you would meet, and the fact that you didn't. We've tried to communicate consistently about this. We're kind of at that line in the sand now, and this will have to terminate your contract.
All right, this is the part where I start crying and we we both really feel bad.
I do
And
feel bad.
I
My
feel
stomach.
bad getting fake fired even. So um but you kind of get the idea. We had to practice a really difficult conversation. In the beginning of the conversation, there were a couple of times where I wanted to smile because I knew it was coming
Yeah.
and how difficult this is going to be. So in the chat, let us know if you like to role play. Um, would you come to class excited and ready to dive in if we were going to role play something? I know for me, this was awkward. There are some positive experiences from an experience like this, but certainly a lot of negatives. I don't know how about you felt just initially here, Becca, but it's
Yeah,
my least favorite thing to do.
I mean, I knew we were going to do this for this audience, and I've been nervous all day. Role play is not my favorite thing. I know that it's helpful though, like just getting the words out. Like I could see how that would be very useful, but my anxiety was quite high, and there are about a million things I already wish I could have done different. So,
Yeah, I love the chat here. It's uncomfortable and
mhm.
necessary, low stakes. People have a hard time taking it seriously because it's not really a fan of it, but people say it's effective and so on and so forth. So would they feel more comfortable? Probably in a lot of situations. So most people don't like role plays. I mean, let's be honest. But in study after study after study, it indicates that role play can be extremely effective at teaching certain skills. The studies really vary wildly, but nearly every study indicates that it can have a positive effect on learning. Some studies indicate a 50 to 75% increase in skills after role play, and statistically significant increases in learner efficacy regarding that particular skill. And technology is really advanced to the point where we can do these role plays with AI and realize many of these benefits, increase in communication skills, just more engagement because it's really an active learning activity and it allows you to talk out things in real time. So if you've had the opportunity to practice firing somebody a bunch of times, hopefully you have the words down and a little bit more confident in what you're doing. I've actually had to fire somebody for it. It is not a fun experience, and I wish I had practiced beforehand because I probably wouldn't have been a basket case beforehand and afterhand, at least not as much of a basket case. We're all really, really good about talking these things out in our heads. Like I do this presentation fantastic in my head. I never make any mistakes, but I'm sure I've already made 3 or 4 of them in this presentation. So having the ability to talk it out really boosts your confidence in the situation and allows you to synthesize that information and utilize it elsewhere. And this bleeding edge technology really allows us to use AI, natural language processing, voice recognition, and rendering engines to create really realistic experiences that show these avatars can show emotion in their voices. They can now, in certain circumstances, show facial expressions. They can even mimic body language that responds in real time to learner interactions. Their responses can adapt to whatever situation is going on. So if we decided to start chit-chatting in the beginning first, say, how was the weekend? Did your kids do well in the soccer game? If we program it right or give it the right information and background, it can chit-chat and do all these other things and then move into the conversation. It can react to those different learner choices. So it can branch out in 10 different directions, and we don't have to program it to do that. We just have to give it the information and background to be able to do that. And this really allows us to create and practice a really large variety of scenarios, such as normal interview type situations, taking patient history like Becca does with nursing. We can practice interviews and accident investigation, conflict resolution, which you'll see in a little bit, and tricky situations like exploring employee tensions, feedback and coaching. There's numerous different things we can do with it. So back to our introductory role play. In the chat, let us know if you thought it was realistic. Why or why not? Sorry, Becca, this is your area.
bring the feedback if you're like, wow, Becca was terrible at firing someone. That is fair because I've never had to do that before.
Somebody says, I think you did great.
Oh, whew, thanks. Yeah, and I guess, that was one small example. But I think to echo what John has said, I've gotten to observe some of our live actor simulations in the nursing realm. And it's interesting because some, depending on your mix of students or who's facilitating, some are very, very realistic. You can tell that everyone's really embracing the role. And then I've been a part of others where, for whatever reason, maybe anxiety is high or we're a little nervous to perform. The realism kind of dwindles very quickly. So I think I've witnessed it happen both directions.
Yeah, I think the interesting part about this, Becca, too, is that, you and I are both professionals who've been in the business world for a while. But I don't know that situation would be quite as realistic as 2 brand new college students that don't have real world experience either. So
sure. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
All right.
So I guess a little quick backstory. When I joined our university, and again, specifically with our nursing program and health professions, there were many simulation modalities already being utilized to great effect. So we have mannequin simulations where the students will gather around and actually practice not only conversing with the mannequin who's voiced by a teacher who's behind the wall, but they'll also practice diagnostics, things like that. That's really cool. We started playing around with VR simulation. And like I mentioned, I've seen a lot of live actor simulation and role playing like that. However, what we observed, and this was in coordination with a lot of our faculty who have been a part of simulation for many years, we did notice some pretty major barriers and obstacles. So the biggest was just logistically, running a simulation can be challenging. For all of those modalities I just mentioned, except perhaps VR, if you have the right software, the students have to be on campus. They have to all come at a coordinated time. They have to be facilitated, led by a subject matter expert who also can meet them at that time to run the simulation. You can typically only have a few students engaged in a simulation at one time. So think about how that works. You have so many students to get through this learning activity. and only so much time and space and expert facilitators. And that was a really big obstacle. We also noticed, like I experienced just a few minutes ago, that learner anxiety was pretty high. I like to interview students after they do a simulation and just get a pulse on how it felt from their perspective. And many of them say that they were very nervous. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, sometimes we know that learning can be strengthened by that higher arousal, that higher anxiety, but not always. So we started thinking about, are there ways to run simulations that can be done anytime, any place, that maybe the stakes don't feel quite as high. It's not as performative. And that really led us into what we're going to showcase today. And John, I don't know, did you want me to go into more depth on any of those points? Those were the big ones from nursing. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest one for me is the time and place dependent. I mean, if I have an hour to teach students, we can do a couple of role plays, but we can't have them practice the same one over and over and over again because we just don't have that time. So, as Becca kind of alluded to, I think, and I just talked about too, this really allows us, this AI really allows us to remove a lot of barriers because we can do these role plays now in asynchronous environments. Something that was really, really difficult for us to do before, we can do now. No matter where you are, no matter what mode it is being taught in, the course is being taught in, some role plays can now be done asynchronously. It's unfacilitated. So role plays don't have to be facilitating, be done at any time with simple text-based direction. There's also the ability to provide personalized feedback. So these avatars can actually, at one point I can just say, hey, can you switch roles for a second and tell me how I'm doing or how I've done in this particular role play? And they can provide immediate personalized feedback about how someone did in a conversation based on a rubric. Not something that's another student can necessarily do very well all the time. Cost avoidance, which I think is really big in Becca's area here. You can do a lot more realistic role play because you don't have to hire live actors. They don't have to be trained, but it still allows for that realistic scenario. Anything you want to add to that, Becca?
No, other than what we're going to showcase today, which is simulation with AI avatars. The cost is much lower than, let's say, mannequin simulation. Those mannequins are expensive. We're also not suggesting it's a replacement to other types of simulation or other modalities, but we do think it's a really important tool to add to the toolkit.
Yeah, definitely. These are also tech light, so you don't need a fancy simulation lab. And it's just easy because you just provide a link or even embed it in a Canvas course or whatever LMS you have. Just go from there. You can repeat it. So one of the things I noticed in the study that we were doing is this repetitive practice is feasible at nearly any time, any place, anywhere. And it helps learners practice as much as they need to and the specific scenarios that they need to practice. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but we required our students to participate in one interactive avatar role play. And what I noticed was students were participating in them 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times with the same avatar over and over again because it was like Groundhog Day. They really wanted to get it right. They didn't like that the avatar was still being mean to them after 2 minutes, or they couldn't get it to do what they wanted it to do, and so on and so forth, because it wouldn't calm down. It wouldn't respond to them in a nice way. So there's a lot of positive research on different VR applications, but what we're doing is a little bit different. So that there is very little research on the efficacy of interactive avatars, which is really what we're talking about here. But we believe that because of the removal of many of these barriers, they can really expand the benefits of role play in this instance. So we can take something from theory and move it into practice. We talk a lot about leadership courses. Everybody has these leadership courses, but has anybody had the opportunity to actually practice those types of leadership things? So when somebody's falling down on the job, have they had the opportunity to really talk to somebody and say and adjust how they're going to talk to somebody, how they're going to fire somebody, how they're going to do process improvement with that person, how are they going to do all these things? So you can talk about it in theory, but they don't actually get the opportunity to put it into practice. It also takes these judgmental situations and makes them a little bit safe. Everybody has this nervous interaction when they're going to, and Becca talked about it earlier, like everybody's going to judge us and her ability to fire me and my ability to take it good, right? So these interactive avatars allow for a safe environment because the avatar really doesn't care. It is going to respond, but it really doesn't care that it's getting fired because you can try it again and again and again. So it makes a safe place to practice these things. And because the interactive avatars are authentic, it allows them to have real emotions and real, or at least an expression of real emotion and whatnot, so that it takes it from an experiential thing to an authentic experience. So something that is as close to the real thing as we can get without actually getting there. So this is a sample of one of the interactive avatars that we are doing. His name is Bud. You can see me in the lower left here. I'm talking to Bud. We're zooming in back and forth, so to speak, just kind of like we are now in a webinar, except for everybody can talk back and forth. The situation here is that Bud is not doing so good. He's kind of fallen down on the job. He's on a team of, I forget, 4 or 5 people that are working on this product launch. And I have to have a difficult conversation with Bud. Fair warning. I use Bud intentionally. Bud does swear. So if you're offended by swearing, I apologize. But I do this on purpose because everybody thinks that interactive avatars and AI in general are nice. We can make them not nice. We do this on purpose because it provides for a more authentic experience. Now, if I wanted to make Bud not react like he's going to react, you'll see here, I can do that as well. But trying to make Bud swear took me a week and a half. I figured it out now, but it provides for a really more extreme authentic experience versus the lower end authentic experience. And we have a range of these types of situations. So you'll notice probably a little bit of latency with his lips and his voice because we're over Zoom. I'm not going to do this live because that would increase the latency. And you'll notice there are cuts in this because I took a very long conversation and trimmed it down to, I think, 2 minutes. So just bear with us a few minutes and you'll get to see how Bud interacts here with me.
Hi, I think I know why you called me today, but how are things?
Things are going good, Bud. How are things with you?
Things are just pretty exhausting, honestly. Thanks for asking. What brings you in today?
Well, Bud, that's actually kind of why I brought you into the office. I see that you're kind of falling behind on one of the projects, and I was just wanted to bring you in talking about it, see how things are going. I'm a little concerned we're going to hit these deadlines, so.
I didn't want this to turn into a crappy workplace situation, but yeah, I'm behind. I've been trying my best with the financial analysis, but it's been tough balancing everything. I just need a bit more time to get it all right.
Well, is everything okay, Bud? Is there something going on at home? Is there something I can help you with?
I appreciate your concern, but I can't really get into personal issues right now. I just need to focus on finishing my part of the project. Let's stick to that, okay?
I understand, Bud. I just wanted to show my concern and see if there's anything I can do to help. I see that we've been falling behind on this project, and we're on a really big time crunch with this project. We have to make sure that we get it done on time. This is a really big client. So to help, I've had to reassign some of your tasks to some other people to make sure that we get this done on time.
What the heck? You just reassign my work without asking me first? That's I always give my best and now I get crap on because I fall behind? This is so freaking unfair.
I understand, Bud. You've always done some really great work at our organization, and that's why I want to support you. I want to make sure that we get this information to the client as quickly as possible. So I'm actually here to support you, and that's why I've had to reassign some of these tasks. Like I said, you've always been a great worker, and we just need to make sure that this project gets done on time.
I'm sorry. I really appreciate your support, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. I've been meticulous and precise with my analysis, but now I feel like I'm being unfairly thrown under the bus. I just want to do my part, and I need some understanding here.
That's exactly why I'm offering some help, bud. I think maybe it's good for now that we have somebody helping you out, but I would like to revisit this in a week or two, see how things are going. Hopefully things have settled down in your life, whatever is going on, and that we can help move forward. So why don't we set up a meeting in a week or two to talk about this and see how I can further support you.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I just want to do my job right, but juggling all this personal stuff and work is a nightmare. I'll try to catch up and make some progress.
Sounds good, bud. I'll schedule a meeting, so keep an eye out for that meeting invite, and we'll just take it from there, okay?
Thanks. I'll do my best to get back on track, and I appreciate your understanding.
Thanks, bud. You have a great day. So you can see there that Bud kind of has emotional reaction. His face does not change in this particular instance. The new avatars that are coming out have emotional responses. So it's getting better and better and better. We used to have an issue with latency as well. So the amount of time that it would take Bud to respond has dramatically decreased, as well as just some of the awkwardness of it. So the biggest uncanny valley part of it now is really the slight pause between when I stop talking and Bud starts talking. So the uncanny valley has been minimal, very minimal now. So in order to create these personas, we really had to give the avatar a persona. We started this with like setting the stage, like what's our objective for this conversation? We need to, like in the firing conversation, maybe it was demonstrating the ability to deliver a termination message using language and behaviors that minimize emotional distress. And I'll be honest, I've actually had several people interact with Bud in here, and one of the best people to interact with Bud never swore at this person, which I thought was amazing because Bud is kind of programmed to get upset. But was one of the police officers. One of the police officers had such the best demeanor with Bud. It never got to the point where Bud swore at him. So he did just a phenomenal job. So it really shows how somebody can get past this. So the persona creation is really setting up the situation and whatnot. So Bud is kind of the situation that I set up with you guys, in that Bud is a member of a team. He's fallen down on the job and so on and so forth. It really sets the foundation for this. Becca, do you want to say something about the persona creation from a nursing perspective as well?
Yeah, I think, it's hard to talk through it without showing what this looks like on the back end, but there are now multiple companies or platforms that allow you to do this. What we're really talking about is writing a prompt that's going to allow this instance of generative AI to speak as Bud. So I'm sure everyone on this call uses AI fairly extensively at this point, and you know that the better prompt you write, the better the output's going to be. So we clearly define the role for the avatar. We might even go so far as to include some sample dialogue that the avatar might use, or use something similar to those examples we provide. We give behavioral cues. We might even do some branching logic depending on what the simulation needs. In nursing, we will also provide like a medical history, a chief complaint, social determinants of health, all of that context that avatar or that employee or that patient, whatever their role is, whatever they would need to know in order to perform this role, that's what we have to tell the avatar.
Yeah, perfect. That actually sets me up perfectly for this. So defining the avatar role, we really have to define what role the avatar is going to play, what role it's not going to play. Is it going to be a helpful AI? Is it going to swear at you when he gets upset? When does it get upset? What's its trigger points? When does the opposite trigger point? When does it, you notice that Bud said, look, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to blow up at you like that. So what did I say that triggered him to go backwards on what he said? So we like Becca said, we define how it talks, what it says, gives it some sample language, maybe what its personality, its motivation at work might be, and how it might handle different situations. We also define its knowledge base. So that's really about what it knows and doesn't know about the people or person it's talking to. You notice that in that particular instance, Bud had said something to the effect of, I've always given my best. I've never fallen down on the job at this. That's because I've programmed, so to speak, Bud's persona to say, look, he has never fallen down on the job once. He has always been like the 5-star employee. And this is the first time anything's happened. So when he blows up legitimately because like, no, he's always done his job. So this information ranges from the practical to the impractical. So the history of the person is talking to the type of work that they've done in the past, job descriptions, things like that. And we also give the avatar a backstory. I sort of alluded to this already, but we give them a history. I actually program it to say, what is your home life like, and things like that. So if we start a conversation out like Becca and I did when I got fired, maybe Becca runs into that conversation and says, hey, how was the weekend? You know, how are the kids and stuff like that. Maybe she doesn't do that, but it gives the avatar the ability to sound really realistic because we can chit chat about things and then get into the meaty topic. And this is super, super, super important. Like I said, it's a persona creation. So we really want to give it all the things that we can because it really allows us to practice a large variety of scenarios and all the information it has. All that background information really gives it a better conversation flow. It can chit chat, can talk serious, and can go back and forth. Like, did you see the World Cup game this weekend or whatever? We also give it a personality, so it's not going to be static and helpful. I can't tell you how difficult it was to program out, so to speak, the asking me questions, leading the witness. Do you want to know why I'm falling down on the job? Do you want to know this? Do you want to know that? No, I don't, because that's not how a normal conversation goes. So we can kind of give it some personality and things like that as well. And this really allows us to have more realistic conversations that don't feel like AI as best we can. So to create our personas, I start with a persona template. It actually has all the features on it that I need. I take some of the persona items out if I want to. Like I actually have a persona template that'll allow me to go on a business path. So if I say my name's Dr. John, it will go down a nursing path. If I say, hey, I'm so-and-so manager, it goes down the other path. So these personas can actually go in multiple directions. And then we can really develop these personas really fast with AI. It allows us to put the template in there, say, hey, I need to develop a persona for this. It develops a persona, and then we can tweak it along the way and massage it to make sure that it does what we want it to through testing. Becca, anything else about persona building? Because you get a little bit differently than I do, but we're kind of on the same lines.
Yeah, so John and I actually use different templates or different AI assistants to help us write these avatars. So the methodology is similar, but maybe a little bit different. But I agree with everything you just said, John. Like we can actually develop these very quickly as long as we know what the learning objectives of the simulation are. You know, like what do we need students to be able to demonstrate in this simulation? We can develop a persona very quickly. What we have found is where the time investment needs to go is on the testing of the avatars. So once we have a Bud ready to go, rough draft Bud, then we send him out to the instructors who might utilize him and ask them to engage with him a couple different times and to let us know what's working and what's not working. At this point, we see testing of the avatars being one of the most important steps, and it's probably not going away anytime soon because often the large language model that's behind the avatar continues to evolve and improve, but it also might change the performance of the avatar a bit. So we're kind of always testing and refining, but we usually get a really good start in that first pass.
And I think one of the other valuable lessons that we learned is we really develop all the personas off platform. So we really build a lot of these personas in a Word document because then we can load essentially that Word document or a portion of that Word document into the application that we're using. And that's worked really well for us for the most part. Some of the questions we were trying to answer with these research questions were, does it provide a realistic learning experience? What's the student perception of AI? Did it benefit their learning or increase their self-efficacy for things? And we did this by through surveys in essence. We had pre-interaction surveys talking about their pre-existing communication skills, their previous interactions with interactive avatars, which, believe it or not, happens more frequently than you would think because a lot of people are gamers. What their interaction was like with the avatar, and then essentially the same questions post-interaction to see what they thought. What we found was really interesting. So pre-interaction, essentially from a learning experience, confidence in the communication skills, skill improvement, and emotional realism, they all thought all thought realistic real live role play would be better than an interactive avatar. But post-interaction, they were like, well, we kind of prefer traditional role play, but the avatars also really provided a really valuable learning experience for us. Their communication skills, again, both traditional role play would be better, but the avatars actually, they felt like also increased their confidence. They both contributed positively to their skill improvement, and for a specific group, the avatars contributed much more positively. Same thing with emotional realism. And for that specific group, it was our non-traditional students that thought the avatars, they reacted to the avatars much more positively for skill improvement and emotional realism, because when the avatars swore at them, they're like, no, that actually has happened to me in real life. Where a college student oftentimes is like, a traditional college student that just came from high school is often like, people would swear at you at work. That never happens. No, it kind of does sometimes, depending on the situation. So we're kind of getting to the end here, but we don't want to abandon a live role play. As Becca mentioned before, we do really want to enhance it with interactive avatars by providing safe spaces to practice difficult conversations. We want people to develop emotional intelligence and enhance their learning experience, no matter what mode that they're in. So I really believe that the future of education lies in creating authentic, emotionally engaging experiences that prepare learners for real-world challenges. And these AI avatars really provide us with a paradigm shift towards personalized adaptive learning. Gives people an opportunity to go over and over and over again with a practice situation and get used to it and do it better and better than they had been able to in the past. We have a lot of references that we've looked at to do this. I really want to acknowledge our research team, our beta testing people, our students, everybody who provided the invaluable feedback throughout this project. It has been amazing. Here's our contact information again, and I did notice a couple of Q&A questions, so we'll address those now. Becca, anything else to add to kind of close us off here then as well?
No, because I want to go into the part 2 already, which is the avatars can also provide personalized feedback. But that is like a whole other fun topic. I just want you to know it's possible before you go too. We can also provide the avatar with a rubric, an evaluation rubric, and they can give that feedback to students based on how the conversation went. It's kind of a game changer.
Yeah, definitely.